Hey my loves, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Natalie and welcome to a new series on my channel. Welcome if you're new. I post medicine and productivity lifestyle related content, and if it's not your first time stopping by, thank you so much for coming back again. So I have yet another series on my channel. The last time I did a series was back at the end of the year last year, towards the beginning of the year, and that was like the New Year prep series. I haven't done any series on my channel since then. Internship in general in any career is obviously a stepping stone towards getting to that goal career, and in medicine it's no different. I studied medicine in China for 5 years, and then I went on to do my internship before I graduated in Botswana, and then did internship again after I graduated in Tanzania, and I've been here ever since. So I do feel like I do have a bit of experience in terms of doing internship, considering I did it twice in two different places. I did it in public setting, I did it in a private setting, I did it in a place that had no resources, I did it in a place that had resources, I did it in foreign land, and I also did it somewhere that was a bit closer to home. So I do have a couple of things that I feel like I should share and that might help you, and these are all the things that we're going to discuss in this series. So I have a lot of things to share with you guys. Where to do your internship, how do you decide, like how do you make the decision to say, okay, I want to do my internship there, how to prepare, what things do you need to do before you start your internship, how to go about your internship, what departments to start with, what to study, how to balance studying and working while you're an intern, how to navigate the relationships in internship, your mental health, as well as just like everything you need to know and do before you actually finish your internship, so that by the time you're done with your internship, it was a great year that was worthwhile and that parachuted you basically into launching your career as a doctor. And so I really hope you guys want to enjoy this series. I have lots of interesting stuff to tell you guys, and I will also obviously share my experience in those two different places that I did my internship over those 2 years. So I really hope you guys are as excited for this as I am, and with that said, let's get right into the first video of the series. You've just celebrated getting through 6 or so years of stress, turmoil, pain, and your hard work finally paid off. But you were a student for all those years, and now suddenly you're expected to be a capable and competent doctor. You are literally responsible for people's lives. Medical internship can make you or totally break you. It's survival of the fittest. Internship is that period you use to bridge the gap between what you learned in med school, what you don't know, and what you need to know as a doctor. It's such a crucial period as it determines the outcome of your career in medicine. So, where do you do your internship? How do you decide that? What rotations do you start with? What do you need to prepare? What things do you need to know before you start your internship? What do you need to make sure you know before you finish your internship? How do you study during internship? How do you balance studying and working? Your mental health? Navigating all the things you didn't get taught in school but are expected to know? Join me on my YouTube channel as I talk about all things internship related in a series of videos this month. Subscribe to my channel and have your notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the videos. So yes, internship is important, but what makes it important? And for me, this is simple: where you do your internship, because you can be hardworking, you can be, brilliant, but if you do your internship in a place that isn't conducive for your internship, you are not going to be a great doctor in the future. And so where you do your internship is really important and is really actually crucial in determining whether or not you're going to succeed later on in your life as a doctor, in your medical career, and all that in between. So I saw it fitting that this will be the first video. In this video, we're going to discuss what factors you need to consider when you do your internship. A lot of people are considering doing their internship in countries other than where they studied or other than where they're originally from. I'm going to discuss all of that in this video, so do stay tuned. Obviously, the first thing you need to consider is the country of choice, right? And for me, there's always one question that helps to make everything else simple. Where do you want to practice medicine in the future? Is it at home? Is it another country? Because everything that I want to say is dependent on the answer to that question. Are you looking to run away from home? Are you looking to, settle in a country that's totally different to where you're from? Are you looking to settle where you studied? You need to think of these things before you actually decide on where to do your internship, because it's going to make things a lot easier for you. Maybe you've decided you're not doing your internship at home. It's not going to be somewhere where you studied. You just want a different setting. The first thing you need to consider, obviously, is the language. And me being someone who studied abroad, someone who studied in a country where they didn't speak my native language, they didn't speak English, this was very important in determining whether or not I stayed there after my studies. And thankfully I chose not to. Why? Because in medicine, the language is very important. You need to be able to hear your patients. You need to be able to understand what they're communicating with you, because history is the most important thing. You can do all the investigations that you want to do on a patient, but if you don't have the right history, those investigations are not going to help you. And how are you going to take that important and relevant history if you understand the language that the patients are speaking? There is no point in you doing your internship in China if you do not speak Chinese. Most of your patients are going to be Chinese. Why are you going to then put yourself in that environment where you don't understand anything? Half the time, the person that's going to help you translate can't even translate it accurately and adequately, and that's going to leave a lot of information being translated. Internship here is the year where you get to bridge the gap between what you learned in med school and what you need to know as a doctor. And it's so important that you grasp all that knowledge and gain all those skills, and you need to be able to do that in a language that you easily understand. If you decide to do your internship in a place where you know for sure that you're not going to be able to understand the language, are you in a position to be able to learn that language? Are you willing to learn that language? Language is a really important factor, and not only being able to understand the patients, but the doctors as well. Can they teach you adequately in that language? Can they teach you in a language that you're going to be able to understand? Your patients might speak English, which is well and good, but do your doctors speak English? Do they speak Cuban? Do they speak Chinese? Do they speak French? What do they speak? Can you understand that? And most importantly, the documents. If you're doing your internship in a place where, yes, everyone speaks English, but the documentation is not in English, that is also going to be a down factor, and something that you really need to consider. So other than the language alone, another thing you need to consider in determining where you're going to do your internship is the medical system. Is the medical system in the country that you want to do your internship in similar to either back home or to the country that you want to practice in the future? Why? Because if you do your internship somewhere where the medical system is similar to where you're going to be practicing in the future, it's going to be easier for you to integrate yourself into that system in the future. What do I mean by is the medical system? Not only the medical system in terms of the healthcare system and how the government or if it's a private institution, whatever, is set up, but are the diseases that are prevalent in that area similar to the ones back home? For example, in China, you're going to see a lot of cancer, a lot of lifestyle diseases. In Africa, you're going to see a lot of AIDS, a lot of TB, a lot of infectious diseases. Let me give you guys a perfect example. I studied in China and I always say this like all the time in most of my videos, but I'll repeat it again for the sake of the series. I did my studies in a place where AIDS was not a thing. Of course, there are people that are living with HIV and AIDS, but it wasn't something that is so common there, to the point that we did it as a subtopic of a bigger chapter, right? That was AIDS. I did it in a 45-minute class, and that was it. And it wasn't even asked in my exams. Whereas, where I'm from, Southern Africa, AIDS is very prevalent. AIDS is like, it's like an additional thing that you have to know with everything. Okay, how does this affect AIDS? How is AIDS affected by this? There's books, there's like, AIDS alone is like something that people study for like a semester alone here, no joke. And so when I came and did my internship in Botswana, I was like, it was total shock for me because I didn't know anything. I literally didn't know anything. Putting it simply, I didn't know anything. And that is why I chose to do my internship somewhere similar to back home, where you get to bridge that gap between what you were supposed to know and what you do know, and you get to learn it. So if you're going to do your internship back home and you know where you're studying, you don't do certain things, why not come and do your internship somewhere closer to home where they do those things, so that by the time you're going home, you have an advantage. You know those things. It's not like you're fresh out of school and you've already done your internship. I hope I'm making sense. Of course, like different countries have different standard treatment guidelines, but basically what they practice in Botswana, what they practice in Zimbabwe, what they practice in South Africa, what they practice in Malawi is similar, rather than comparing it to what they practice in Egypt, what they practice in Morocco, things of that sort. I hope you guys are getting the picture and getting where I'm going with this. Another thing you want to consider as a foreign person, or a person who wants to do your internship outside your own country or outside where you studied, is the community. A lot of people tend to just overlook this, but the community that you're going to be living in is really important because it's going to make or break you. Internship is a very demanding year. Internship is very emotionally taxing, and you're going to be emotional, you're going to be stressed, you're going to be mentally drained. The community you're going to be residing in needs to be able to uplift you, or at least at the bare minimum, it shouldn't bring you down further. Is there racism in that community? Is there xenophobia in that community? One thing I don't talk about a lot is why I actually left Botswana, and xenophobia was a part of that. And it's something that I decided I'm not going to speak about it, and I will not speak about it in detail. But for the sake of this video and in showing you guys how important it is to choose a place that is suitable for your growth, suitable for your, just like your well-being in general, it's definitely something that you need to consider. A question that I frequently get asked is, do foreigners get paid in which countries pays foreigners for internship? It's not a secret that when you choose to go and study, when you choose to go and do your internship in a country other than your own, most likely you're not going to get paid. I'm not sure about like worldwide, but I know for a fact in Southern Africa, I know places that for sure they don't pay interns if you are a foreigner. For example, in Botswana, they don't pay interns. In Tanzania, they don't pay interns. But in terms of pay, for me, in my experience, and my advice to you guys is, don't look forward to the money that you're going to get as an intern. As an intern doctor, you're going to be like at the bottom of the food chain. You're going to get the least salary that any doctor is going to get. Obviously, doctors in certain areas get paid more than doctors in certain areas. For example, doctors in Botswana get paid more than doctors in Tanzania, obviously. But don't let that be what what determines where you're going to do your internship. Internship here is just a year or two in most cases. You'd rather go somewhere where you're going to get the knowledge. If it's that you're going to sacrifice, pay just so you get that knowledge, do that. You're going to get money later. Once you've done your internship, the money is going to come. So don't look too much into the money. Yes, money is important because you have to eat, you have to sleep somewhere, right? But don't let that be the only factor that you worry about. So another thing that I wanted to touch on in this video is, should you do your internship in a public institution or in a private institution? Now, depending on the country that you're doing your internship in, some might allow you to do your internship in a private hospital and some might not. In Botswana, for your internship, it had to be in a public setting. Most countries, it's that way. In Tanzania, they allow both because there's some private hospitals that are really big and the government recognizes them as internship centers, and so that's well and good. So let me give you guys like a quick list of pros, cons, positives, negatives, and things that you need to consider. In a public hospital or in a government hospital, now I'm speaking solely from experience here, my experience doing internship in Southern Africa. Most public hospitals, most government hospitals are understaffed. They are severely short-staffed. They lack resources that, not basic, some might lack even basic resources depending on, are they in the city? Are they in the villages? Obviously, the further away you go from the city, the less resources are available. Most public hospitals are understaffed, short-staffed, lack resources, lack equipment. Some of them even lack specialists and super specialists, if any, will be there. There's a lot of patients, a lot of cases to see. And obviously in the bigger public hospitals, you have more interns being sent to those places. On the other hand, in private hospitals, there's probably adequate staffing, there's adequate resources and equipment, there's specialists, super specialists, super specialists, if there's such a thing. There is less cases, but more specialized cases. The cases that people have struggled to deal with, they're there. There's less interns. So what do you do with this information? Are you trying to go to a place where you're gonna just see patients but not get taught anything because there's no one really who has time to teach you? Or do you want to go and do your internship in a place where there's a lot of patients but there are adequate people that are going to be able to teach you and there's resources for you to use to learn the skills that you need to learn? Do you want to do an internship where there's a lot of interns, so you're going to have help, but you're also going to have a lot of competition in doing procedures because there's so many of you, only one person gets to do the procedure? Or do you want to do an internship where there's so many specialists and only 2 of you to teach in a department, and you get to shine alone. Yes, you might not have help, you might have a lot of work alone because there's no other interns to help you, but you're getting a lot of knowledge. So those are, two different things. And I had the best of both worlds with this. When I did my internship in Botswana, I did it at Nyangagwe, which is in Francistown. And it's the second biggest referral hospital other than Princess Marina and Gabs. So in Nyangagwe, we got referrals from all over the place. But, there were so many patients, so little resources, so little, specialists. There were a lot of MOs and GPs, whatever you want to call them, but a lot of them have just learned, on the go. There's very few specialists to actually teach you that specialized knowledge, that skilled, skill set, that skilled, really knowledge that you need. But at the same time, because it was so understaffed, we were just sent, okay, go and do that. We got to do lots of procedures. By the time I'd finished my internship there, I had done like over 100 evacuations. I had assisted in over 50 Caesars. I don't know how many kids I delivered. I had sutured guys. I had done it all because I had the access to those patients. On the other side, when I did my internship in Tanzania, I did it in a private hospital which had adequate resources, that specialists, super specialists. There were only like 18 or 20 interns, so there were like 2 or 3 of us in the department at a time. So like you really got like all the specialists just like focusing on you. And if you really wanted to learn, you had to learn. You learned. I was doing central lines, chest tubes, all those things that back in Botswana GPs couldn't do. As an intern, I was doing. Why? Because the specialized skill set that was there, readily available for me. There's no pressure of, hey, this patient, that patient, there's too many patients. Nah, there was none of that. Everything was just calm and knowledge was just like always being imparted. So that's something that you also need to consider. So as we draw to the end of this first video, there's some other questions that you obviously need to ask yourself. Like, if you go to that country, that city, that place, is it going to make it easier for you to integrate yourself into the system that you plan on working in the future? Is it somewhere that you could see yourself staying and working indefinitely, forever, for the next 5 years? Is it going to be a big launching step into your career? Is it leading you to where you want to be in your career in the future? Will it be worth it? So these are all the points that I think you should consider in deciding where to do your internship. And these are things that I considered when I decided where to do my internship. And the most important thing, and I want to repeat this again now that it's the end of the video, is where do you want to work in the future? The place that you're going to do your internship should be somewhere similar, or at least help you get closer to getting into that system that you plan on being a part of in the future. So that is it. I hope this video has helped you kind of have a picture of what you need to think about before you decide where to do your internship, because like I said, your internship is the most important year of your medical career. Basically, it's going to turn you from a student into a well-cooked doctor, So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the next video, now that we know how to decide where to do your internship, I want to be sharing what to do before you start your internship, the things that you need, how to prepare for your internship. So do stay tuned for that video. Otherwise, please leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what other questions you have. Let me know anything else that you'd like to see in this series, and I might just be able to do that. Otherwise, please subscribe to my channel, share this video with your friends and your family members, anyone that might be looking to start the internship real soon. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Mwah.